Hello, welcome to January 18th, 2023. My name is Kurt and I'm here to do my Good Life meditation video. This is something that I do each and every morning shortly after waking up. It's now 4:35 a.m. spot on. I do this in order to start the day out by remembering my life objectives and principles and thinking about these and tinkering with them and getting them in shape and changing them and removing them and grouping them and all the things that it does to maintain an operational living creed, life creed. I also use this time to reflect on the last 24 hours, including my overnight sleep, and try to determine how I did with that. Where did I have opportunities that I did well on improving upon, and then where did I have challenges that I may have stumbled or fallen flat on my face, and how can I improve in the future? Come on over, and here comes a dog. This is Ollie. Oh, I'll then finish by thinking about the coming 24 hours, planning out my work day ahead, and how I'll deal with my, or not deal with my, how I'll capitalize and use my, I don't like the word capitalize necessarily. Sometimes I'm trying to just, how I will improve, as Thoreau would say, how I will improve the nick of time in the coming day and make life better in terms of quality, the execution of virtue, and fraternity with my loved ones, the people that I meet. But let me just write that down real quick. There we go. Oh, and good morning, Parker. Let's get started. First, last night and yesterday. Got to bed just a little later than usual. It must have been 9 when I went to finally close my eyes. And I slept pretty good. In fact, I don't recall waking up. I don't recall waking up before the alarm. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Went to bed, closed my eyes, and the alarm went off at 4 a.m. That's an amazing feat. I wonder if it's because of all the exercise I got yesterday. I had a really nice long dog walk with Yumiko at noon. And then I ran 2 miles on the beach in the evening and jumped in the ocean and did all kinds of calisthenics and push-ups and sit-ups and stuff on the sand. Then I came home and Yumiko and I took the dogs on another long walk. I wonder if that did the job. Yesterday was a really good day of work. I did all kinds of stuff. I kept really busy and completed a lot of stuff. I didn't have any particular challenges that I faced. Overall, a very straightforward day. So let's jump into it. Let's do the good life. First, my objectives and principles. Well, that's all it is. Number 1, my first objective is to be always ready to die, to have my life affairs, papers, accounts, etc., all in good order. My relationships with my family, my friends, my community, my co-workers, etc., even strangers, in order. What I mean by strangers is my ability to interact with strangers, tuned and ready, so I can be friendly, forthright, engaging, listening to what they're saying, reciprocal, all those things with people that I meet. And I made a new friend yesterday at the beach, Angela, who I had just such an interaction with. Coming out of the water, Angela I see her regularly ever since I've been going. She sits in a small tent about 100 feet away from where I usually come to begin my beach activities. A little blue tent there between the 18th lifeguard tower 18 and lifeguard tower 20. There is no 19. And we wave, and she wished me a Happy New Year on New Year's Eve. But that's the only time we've ever talked. But today, she was out of her tent just as I was leaving. So as I walked back, I said hello, and she engaged me and spoke with me for a bit, and introduced herself, asked my name. She's my age, and we learned a little bit about one another's story. And so hers is an interesting one and a compelling one. Angela's a trial attorney, and she's there on the beach in the afternoon doing her work. That's why I see her with a laptop in that little tent. It's a tiny little thing. She does her trial work in the mornings, and then she works from home in the afternoons, and actually does all of her email correspondence and studying and reading, etc., all for work in that little tent right by the sand. Pretty amazing, huh? There's another heavier part of the story. Angela has been diagnosed with cancer, and she's electing to not take treatment. So part of the reason that she is working from the beach is that she's improving the nick of time, as Thoreau would have said. She's, can't put it any less bluntly, she's making sure she's ready to die. I was kind of moved by that. Now I see her sitting, and I'll be seeing her sitting in that tent because I see her every day. I'll be seeing her in that tent, realizing that it's not just work that's the focus of her life, and not just getting ahead, but feeling the wind from the sea and hearing the roar of the waves, watching the sun go down. She stays till sundown every night and then goes home. Anyway, I was prepared to meet Angela, and now I have a new friend and a new member of the characters, which now include myself, that inhabit that little bit of the beach. And I'll always remember Angela's story. And I look forward to seeing her tonight. All right, so that was my first objective, to be always ready to die. My second objective is to make good and effective use of time. Another thing that Angela's doing well. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. That's these 7 and 24. Next is to cultivate good emotional reactions so that I react well to life. Then the next objective is to perform good actions, just to do good things. And then to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities so that I'm not trying to reach for things that I can't possibly grasp. And keeping my attention and time focused on the things that I can. And then my last objective is to do just one thing at a time, and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. All right, now first a sip of my coffee, and then we'll do the 34 principles. Number 1 is the principle of war. To always be fighting against propositions of truth and things that I've already onboarded as true. I want to know if they are true, and I want to keep on working on them, because if they're not, I want to find out. 2 is reason, which has 3 sub-principles: honesty, objectivity, and doubt. And 4, there's actually 4, humiliation as well. I want to be a reasonable human being who is honest with myself and others, looking at the world objectively, a fierce skeptic, and ready to welcome the humiliation of discovering that I'm wrong. My 3rd principle is the homunculus. I don't think I have a soul, or anybody has a soul. I think that's a made-up idea. I do have a consciousness, and that consciousness is trapped in my head. We can't get out. 4 is the anchor hold. That consciousness that I mentioned that's trapped in my head, since it can't get out, it's going to die with me. So it suffers and enjoys life and is happy, and all the emotions that we feel, sadness, happiness, everything. The whole thing, the whole banquet happens here between my ears. And then once I'm dead, it winks out like a candle snuffed out, or when the music stops playing. And that's the end of that forever. Next is the home of good and evil. Right and wrong do not pervade the universe. There are no absolutes of good and evil, right and wrong. These things are just mere opinions that we have and maintain. And it's important, therefore, to work hard so that we have good and sound opinions about what constitutes right and wrong. Things that, beliefs that are founded in empirical evidence, and help us to improve the well-being of thinking creatures, which is my first objective in terms of virtue. So this is a principle that helps me to remember that I can't just rest my hat on prepackaged ideas of right and wrong. I can examine them, but I have to do the hard work of determining if they're actually true or actually worthwhile, if they produce the yield that they might hope or that they seem to promise. Next is purpose, the principle of purpose. I have 3 purpose in life. The first is to be a good husband and father. The second is to be a virtuous human being, where virtue is defined as whatever improves the well-being of thinking creatures. And 3 is, my third purpose is to whatever personal mission I take on in life. And at this point in my life, I've chosen to make that the marketing and sharing of my book, Going Alone. Not for any financial gain, but simply in order because I think that there are principles and objectives there, and a story that might help others like me who don't believe in God, who therefore can't hang their hat, like I like to say, on a way of thinking, a worldview that will answer questions, but are instead left to their own devices to figure out how to live well. I've done a lot of hard work in that capacity, and I've come up with a creed, the Good Life Creed, that seems to have very good effect. I've been doing it for 4 years now, and that's my mission, is to share that for the benefit of anybody that's interested. Next is the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, atoms and molecules, and it's all falling to pieces. Then the principle of nature. Everything and everyone has a particular nature. And if we can recognize what that nature is, then we can live in a better accord with the world as it really is. Then comes a principle called the pirate ride. A reminder that I don't have a soul, but I do have I'm getting it mixed up. That's a different principle. That's the homunculus. The pirate ride is the suggestion that free will is an illusion. That I don't think that life is predetermined. I don't think that I'm going to reach for this cup right now. That was predetermined at the start of history. No, instead I think that I'm compatible. What my actions and decisions are compatible with the universe. What that means that they are influenced and in allegiance with the forces of nature that are happening all around me. I don't think that I have much say, in fact, even though it feels like I do, in the choices and actions that I make. They happen in accord with the universe. I can't prove this. It's a principle that I hold on faith as, and I know that's a sin, but I can't help it. I can't stop believing that we don't have free will. It's just my hallelujah moment. Then comes the principle of maturity. Maturity is a state that we can arrive at after we've lived for a while, when we have some wisdom to remember of our past successes and failures, some fortitude to do better and to avoid mistakes again, the same mistakes again, and then we can enjoy the resulting integrity of a life being lived in accord with our values. So maturity has those 3 sub-principles of wisdom, fortitude, and integrity. Then comes the social principle. Human beings are social creatures. We need each other. So it's good to form bonds and work together. The sub-principles here are diplomacy, justice, and conspiracy. Diplomacy is what we do when we work together to come up with laws and rules and governing principles for society. Justice is the end that we're seeking. And then conspiracy is what we do when we link arms towards those ends together. Next comes the principle of family. It's simply a simple recommendation to develop a family in life. It can be the traditional nuclear family, or it can be whatever kind of family you want to put together, of friends and relatives or associates, whatever you want, including co-workers and friends at your church, whatever you want. Those are all family members. And it's good to cultivate that and have that. Next comes public speaking. That's the next principle, which has 5 sub-principles. Best words, prudence, felicity, eloquence, 6, rumor and gossip. This principle suggests that we should develop good listening and speaking skills and writing skills so that we can communicate well. Namely, developing a good vocabulary through reading, which will help us to have the right words to say what we want to say, not to be showy, but to be effective. To exercise, to develop prudence so that we can filter our communication through our values. Felicity, to filter through our emotions. Eloquence, through practice and modeling. And then to avoid rumors, spreading rumors, and engaging in gossip, which those last two I'll describe later as sins in my worldview. Not sins against God, because I don't think there is a God, but sins against good living. Okay, that was public speaking. Next comes, is it temperance next? This is right. I feel like I'm starting to codify, or codify is the right word. Bad practice. Let's see, what's next? Anchor, hold, purpose, atomic principle. See, it's all here in the book, all these things. Each one of these headings is one of the principles. The pirate ride, maturity, social principle, family, public speaking, it is temperance, okay, we're good. The next principle is part of a series of 5 principles that go together. These are temperance, life will not go well, the horror show, that which must be borne, and the feast of offal. Temperance suggests that we should exercise restraint in our consumption of all things, including consumption of life. The sub-principles there are suffering, simplicity, and apathy, because we suffer when we tell ourselves no. And a simple life is a temperate life. And apathy is a tool that we can employ to disconnect ourselves from the things that are beyond the scope of our reach. I'm not going to get upset over a sudden rainstorm and then I'm caught outside. I can't help that necessarily, and I found myself outside. Rather than railing at heaven, I'll use apathy to disconnect from that and just walk quietly in the rain getting wet. The next principle is that which life will not go well. Life's going to be hard. Every day is going to have challenges. It won't go like we expect usually. That's to be expected. And then the horror show. Life goes horribly, terribly, awfully bad sometimes. An example is Angela's cancer that she's choosing not to treat. That's an instance of the horror show. She seems to be at a state now where she's happily reconciled. That sounds wrong to say it that way, but it's what comes out of having the conversation with her. She seems like a happy person. She seems like, and I'm reading this book right now about a man. This is the last lecture. This gentleman had pancreatic cancer and was given 3 to 6 months to live, and he wrote this book in that period. And he describes that same thing. We're kind of reaching a reconciliation point with the disease that's going to kill him and being almost happy. He describes an incident in the book where one of his colleagues, he was a university professor at Carnegie Mellon, one of his colleagues described to him how she was driving to work, and she saw a man in front of her with in a convertible, listening to music, and his hand outside the window tapping at the music and singing along. And she thought, oh, he's having just a really good day. And as she drove around and went around him, she realized it was him. And he remembered that, and he really said in the book, and how he had kind of was being always ready to die and making good use of time. So the horror show, I don't know how I dwindled off on there from the horror show, but the horror show is terrible, and it's coming for each of us to a greater or lesser degree. Okay, next is that which must be borne. We have to bear all this stuff. That's what we have to do. Some choose to not bear it, and they exit on their own accord. But as long as we choose to stay alive, we have to bear all of this, and it's tough. I know. I wish it wasn't so tough, but it is. It hurts me when people describe to me the tough times that they go through. Then finally comes the Feast of Offal, the last of the 5. That's why it's finally. The Feast of Offal is what we do when we get upset and we spew that upset into the world and hurt others by that effort. And what we do when we consume the upset of others by way of voyeuristic, watching, consuming, and it doesn't do us good. It poisons us in the process. So I try to avoid both of those. I try to avoid spilling my upset into the world and consuming it when others do the same and within the scope of my witness. Pardon me. Next comes two principles that go together: distraction and agency in the great indifference. Distraction is what we do all of our lives with our work and our play and our hobbies and our politics and our news and our religion and our God, so that we don't have to see what I call the great indifference, the universe without God, to witness that we are alone and discover that seemingly frightening fact to some. So we keep ourselves busy so we don't have to see all that. Closed eyes, closed ears, closed mouth. Not gonna witness that, not see the emptiness that pervades everything. Next comes the best seat in the house, to be all right with who I am, to strive to be all right with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing at all times, while simultaneously working to do, be, and behave better. Next comes a series of 4 principles that go together. The restless man, the path of wildness, the great life adventure, and the risk of avoiding risk. Taken together, the path of the restless man is that sense that we feel as a young man or a woman, not all of us, but I think most of us, to have some adventure in life. It doesn't go away. The path of wildness is the embarkation point when we head off in that adventure in whatever stage of our life, and you can do it multiple times. And the great life adventure is the yield of that effort, what comes of the story that we've created for ourselves by heading out onto the path of wildness, to heed that call, that restless call to have an adventure. And my recommendation generally for the course of life is to listen to that call and then embark upon it after college. So around age 24, 25, go put your degree aside, give it to mom and dad to hold on to, and then off you go for 5 years or so, all to yourself, to explore the world. Come back at 30, and then you can settle down to the safe and sane. Sure, you'll be behind everybody else, the peers that went right from school to college to work, but you'll be ahead in the appeasement of that deeper longing, that restlessness that's within. You'll have done something about that, which is worth a lot later in life. Next comes the risk of avoiding risk. There are 2 extremes on that spectrum of life activities, right? The adventure and the safe and sane. The safe and sane is where we're seeking after education, career, home, family, and security in our old age. It's good to attend to all of those, but if you do all of that at the expense of the adventure stuff, the risky stuff, then you're going to probably find yourself wondering and wanting for that later in life. On the flip side, if you do the adventure stuff and don't focus on any of these, then you're probably going to live a life that's going to miss out on a lot of the benefits of safety and security and peace and comfort and family and fraternity and home. The tricky thing is to balance those, to find a way to have the adventure and also have all the safety and security. And the good thing is that we live long enough to do all of that with effort. That's why it's the risk of avoiding risk. The risk of not taking the risk of having the adventure and just going after the safe and saying you can wind up very safe and secure in a cell or a tomb later in life. It'll feel that way. It may feel that way. I don't think it applies to everybody. I think some people are just fine with that. But not really. I think we all want the adventure. Okay, that's that. So then next comes, sin and damnation. There are 8 sins in my worldview. As I mentioned before, 2 of them are already discussed, rumor and gossip. These are falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, authority, and as I said, rumor and gossip. Engaging in any of these things are sins against good living in my worldview, and we pay a consequence of being damned in the here and now. Falsity is being untrue to others. Credulity is believing things too easily. Faith is belief founded on belief. Superstition is just nonsense. Dogma is belief founded on tradition. Authority is belief founded on eloquence, charisma, or just wanting a daddy figure, so to speak, to take charge. None of those are good reasons to believe things, and I already talked about rumor and gossip. The next principle is called complete oblivion. As I said, I don't believe in God. I don't believe I have a soul. I don't believe in any heaven or hell or afterlife or forever. As a result, when we die, that's the end. Where we wink out and it's oblivion, complete oblivion, forever. Never see our loved ones again. We'll never have a chance to reconcile any differences, and there won't be any final justice meted out to those who deserve it, and any reward to those who deserve that. So we better do all of those things while we have the chance. Reach out to our loved ones, make amends as we can, and contribute to the pursuit of justice in life. Next comes the season of philosophy. Just a simple reminder to keep your pen ready to write down whatever words come of inspiration at any stage in life. And then the bullseye aim, a reminder that we shoot for the mark, but we usually miss. Oh, wait, I skipped one, didn't I? There's another principle just ahead of that one. It's a relatively new one that I added just last week, which is called script writing. Script writing is a trick that we use to forecast the future. I use script writing, for example, I was doing it just as I was cleaning up ahead of sitting here to do this. I was sitting there thinking, okay, I'm going to sit down carefully, deliberately. I'm going to get through the Good Life Creed, touch everything, and I'm not going to go too quickly. I'll linger in detail, just enough detail, etc. Setting up in my mind how it's all going to go. And then I'll do the same thing throughout the day. I'll plan for the day. In just a moment, I'll do that. And I do that for the days ahead, for weeks ahead. It's a way of planning and forecasting or writing the script of my life. That's all it is. And it's a very powerful tool. Then comes the next principle of the bullseye aim, which is my reminder that even though I can write a particular script to go a certain way, usually it's not going to finish just that way because the universe usually has a say in things. It's like throwing darts. I shoot for the bullseye, but I don't expect to hit the bullseye every time. And with darts, you don't get upset necessarily when you miss. You get excited when you hit. So too in life, I'm trying to train myself to not be upset when I miss, but to be excited when I hit. The next principle is the uphill climb. Life is an upward struggle, up, all the way to the top of what? I don't know. It's just climbing higher with a greater, more comprehensive vista every day. I don't think there's any particular end in all of that or any particular goal. It's just learning more, doing more, seeing more, experiencing more, and living more. And I call it an uphill climb because I like to imagine myself climbing a mountain of life, and I stop at the end of each day and I turn around and the vista is better than the day before. Next comes a principle called arena and utility. Life is this arena, like a gladiatorial arena, and my principles are the tools that I use, the weapons that I use to fight my way through life, so to speak. And I keep them sharp and handy by working on them every day so that I'm ready for this. Nothing is enough is the next principle. Just a simple reminder towards simplicity. And then finally, the last principle is the principle of fun, my favorite. A reminder to enjoy life while we have the opportunity, to enjoy today, to enjoy reflections on yesterday, and to enjoy the planning and the anticipation of tomorrow. This is where things are really grabbed and really taken a hold of, and life is made good and pleasant. There we go. There, I got through my Good Life Creed. Now, the last part of the Good Life meditation is to reflect on the coming day. So this is also part of the script writing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, in just a second, I'll finish this. I'll upload this. I'll do my little write-up. Then I will fire up the computer, and while that's firing up, I'll feed the dogs, let them outdoors. If they want to go out for a walk, I'll let them go for a walk, but it's been a little chilly. They've just wanted to go out in the yard lately. Go for a walk later. And then I have a good solid day of work ahead of me. I have like 5 meetings today, one really tricky one. I think I'm all ready for it already. I've already covered the agenda with the team. We've got all the details laid out. It's an executive level meeting, so I've already sent in all the information last week to the executives to peruse. It's just a matter of facilitation and decision making and recording, and off we go. Also, I'll be doing more planning for our upcoming trip to Japan. Yumiko and I have to pick a couple more places to stay. We really need to do that. We did all of our stuff for our visa stuff is in there. That's in good shape, in the Japanese website for entry, quick entry. Facilitating more speedy entry is what I should say. And I'm just going to have a good day, and I'm going to resist eating. I'm not going to eat a thing. Just this one cup of coffee is the closest I'm going to come to eating. After that, I'll be drinking green tea all day. I'll have a bowl of my own homemade soup and a small piece of bread at lunchtime, and then nothing else until dinner. And then I'll go to the beach after work, and at 4 o'clock I'm off work. I'll go to the beach. I'll run 2 miles on the beach. I'll jump in the ocean. I'll do my calisthenics. I'll say hello to Angela. And I'll come home, clean up, I'll do my book signing thing, and I'll have I'll do that live, then I'll have a nice dinner with my wife, I'll take a shower, and I'll go to bed. And all the while, all the way through, I'm going to be glad and grateful and in calm, collected control of my thoughts and my emotions, looking square in the camera during my meetings to make sure everybody has keen attention on what they're saying, and being in the moment. That's the plan for today. All right. With that, I wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. And I guess my life now is done. Take care.